Well, hello, beautiful friends. I'm Jack Cox, author of Love Not Fear, and welcome to yet another episode of this exciting podcast. Paul's not here tonight. Paul's indisposed, so I'm going to do the same as we did last week, shall we? I'm going to start reading a few passages from my book. And if anybody wants to comment or ask questions, then please do so. Also, anybody who is connected with me on Messenger or WhatsApp, you can actually phone in. I've got that organised now as well. Beta version. Let's hope it works. There you go. It's a different intro this week. I made the other one specially for Paul when he comes on with me because it has his Nutrient Nirvana logo on it as well as mine, and I thought that's the least I could do to help him. Right. Dear friend sent me this today. Now, I'm sure you've all seen it before. It's been doing the rounds for a while now. But it sums up, firstly, it sums up the hypocrisy. And secondly, it sums up the climate change hysteria. Just get that off so you can see my beautiful face. It sums up the climate change hysteria, which is designed to keep us in fear. That's hence the name of the book. Either it's climate change, or it's some nasty bug, or it's a war, or it's inflation, hyperinflation. Whatever it is, it's just designed to keep us in fear. The whole money-based system is designed to keep us in fear. I read something the other day which I don't disagree with. I don't agree with. I just try to keep an open mind on it, you know. But it was talking about one of the species of aliens that are supposed to be here amongst us. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. I'm not sure. Keep an open mind on it. And it was part of their agenda, apparently. According to this one author, anyway, it was part of their agenda to keep us in control by fear, to bring about this whole money-based, fear-based, propaganda-based, fear-mongering system, what I call the game we did not devise. I spoke about that last week, didn't I? So let me just have a look to see if anybody's on, if anybody wants to comment. If anybody is watching, please tell me where you're from and where you're watching from, and how you found me. That would be fantastic. It's good to have some interaction going. I love interaction. So I'm just going to start reading some extracts from the book. And I'll say, if anybody wants to jump in, please do. And also, if anybody wants to come on live with me, save me talking to myself, let me know. I'll send you the link to join. Right. This article, this chapter in the book, it's called "Money is the Root of All Meanness." Actually, I'm reading this from the website, so it's slightly more up to date than the book. We're trying to build a world where people earn respect and status according to what they put into society instead of what they take out for themselves. The focus has to be on how much we can give, not how much we can get. Money is about meanness. It's really just a way of saying, I will only give you this if you give me that. Good evening, Abigail. It's lovely to have you here. I've started reading this particular one. Did I read it last week? Forgive me if I have. I'm going to repeat it anyway. It's worth repeating, but there you go. Is it really human nature to be so mean? Or have we been conned somewhere along the line? And this fits in with what I was reading the other day about have we been conned by an alien species, not by our own people. I keep an open mind on that one. But tell me what you think, please. Tell me what do you think about that, Abigail? Have we been instilled with a fake and unfounded fear? A fear that enables the globalist elite to control us? What would happen if we try something different? Let's try something different. I'll give you this because I have two and you don't have one and you look like you could use one. You know? That would change everything. It would change the world. It would change, it just change everything. Overnight, just by adopting that attitude. That would bring down the whole corrupt system. It would cause a revolution, a peaceful revolution. We need a peaceful revolution to destroy the power of the globalist elite. So let's give it a try. Don't forget, I wrote all this before any of us realised just how nasty the globalist elite can be, as we found out the last 2 years. This is not communism or socialism, or capitalism for that matter. We need a third way. Far be it from me to support communism. I consider communism to be an evil system. But having said that, I do love the Communist Manifesto. For each according to his ability and to each according to his needs. That's beautiful. And yes, I did read this last week. It's simply another way of saying that we are all our brother's keeper and our sister's keeper. It's just the communist implementation of this beautiful idea, which is ugly. It all goes wrong when this beautiful seed idea is administered by government. Politics is corrupting, and governments, by their very nature, become corrupt. Oh, Heidi Strickland's here as well. Hello, Heidi. Heidi is coming on my Friday show on the 1st of April. Heidi is the freedom poet. So, yeah, look forward to that. It's going to be absolutely awesome. If we lived in an informal free gift economy with no money and nobody keeping score, because that's all that money is for, with everybody doing what they could and taking what was offered by others according to their need, we would live in paradise. It's only when governments get involved that the whole thing goes belly up. Communism is supposed to be about the people holding all the wealth collectively. But what it really is the government holding all the wealth and turning the people into slaves. What I'm talking about is people controlling their own wealth, but being generous with it. This puts the people in control. Each and every one of us individually. But it's all taking care of each other without any interference from government or welfare state. We'd all be each other's welfare state. We'd just look after each other, you know? And the beauty is that we don't need anyone's permission to do it. We can start to live that way today just by deciding to do so. If we do, then the globalist elite are screwed. There's more than enough wealth for everyone, but we're separated from it by fear. And our fear makes us mean to others, which gives them a good reason to be fearful and mean to us. Heidi, every rung in the ladder of life is important. We all have a wonderful purpose. Yes, we do. Absolutely. This idea that the people that earn the most money are the most important is absolute BS, isn't it? Honestly. It's all part of this game we've been conned into playing. One thing I like to say, and I may say it elsewhere, but I'm going to say it again. If there wasn't a cleaner, a janitor, cleaning the executive toilets, they wouldn't be able to have their board meetings, would they? So that makes the janitor just as important as the directors and the CEO. Abigail, there was a time when there were 3 or 4 generations living together, helping one another. Yes, there was, absolutely. In many simpler societies today, it still happens. They all live in this longhouse or roundhouse, as it is in Africa. And when I was a kid, we used to have my grandmother living with us. She was the only member of that generation that was still alive in our family. And we benefited very much from having her. In fact, she was more to her mother to me than my mum ever was, but that's for another show. That's for another show. Heidi's saying it's absolute bollocks. What's absolute bollocks, Heidi? What I'm saying, or am I talking bollocks? Tell me why. Tell me why I'm talking bollocks. I don't mind people saying I'm talking bollocks as long as they give me a reason. Our fear makes us mean to others, which gives them a good reason to be fearful and mean to us. Then their fear makes them mean, which makes others fearful and mean, and around it goes. An everlasting, perpetual carousel of fear until someone shouts, "Stop!" Prior to Abigail. Right, I've forgotten what that was now. The water's gone under the bridge, so yeah. Well, I'm shouting stop right now. That's why I wrote this book. We don't have to go on living like this. There's a better way. Maybe success in life, and there's nothing wrong with success. There isn't only one definition of success. As I said before on one of these shows, If I have toothache, I rather want to go to a successful dentist. I don't want to go to one who's a failure. It hurt like heck. Maybe success in life is less about making money and more about developing ourselves into people who are of value to others. Maybe it's less about acquiring wealth and more about building a better world for all humankind. Of course, there's nothing wrong with wealth. Yes, Abigail, I definitely need glasses. Unfortunately, glasses don't work. I have macular degeneration. Glasses don't work. But I certainly need something. What I need is Paul here to read the comments for me. Come on, Paul, come back. Anybody else who wants to come on, by the way, just send me a note, and you can come on. I have no idea what that means, Heidi. I'm sorry. I've absolutely no idea what that means. There's plenty for everybody, or at least there will be when selfish people stop hoarding it. But why do people hoard? People hoard out of fear. Why do people hoard toilet rolls when all this nonsense was going on recently? They were scared they couldn't wipe their bums. It was fear. I practice permaculture. Yes, so do I, Heidi. And try to help where I can through giving plants and veggies away. Yeah, absolutely. I'm just starting a community garden here in Stafford with some friends. It should be up and running. We should be able to get our first seeds in the ground in about a month. We've got a lot of work to do on the ground first. It was very badly overgrown with brambles when we took it over. It's very important. It's one of the most important things. One of our first needs, our first top two needs are housing and food. And most of us have got our housing needs covered. But in the next few weeks or months, food could become a very, very serious issue. So I urge anyone who can to grow their own, and anybody who doesn't have the land, see if you can get together with others and join or form a community garden somewhere. I'm absolutely very much in favour of community gardens. Wealth is energy, and energy needs to be allowed to flow freely. So let's help each other to have enough. That's what being excellent to each other is all about. Nobody needs to live in poverty. It's up to every single one of us to ensure that nobody ever does live in poverty. Don't leave it to the government. Don't say it's not my problem. The government's, we pay our taxes. The government should sort it out, because the government won't. It's in their interests to keep us in poverty. It helps to spread division between us. Heidi, wonders in the garden and in giving to others. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's nourishing to the soul too, isn't it? Life is worth living, and now is what counts. As the past is gone, and the future is yet to be. There is only the current moment, the now moment. Everything else is either a memory or a hope. The only thing that actually really exists is now. Oh, I've read that one. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we are our brothers and sisters keepers. We've become separated from that by the welfare state, by unemployment benefit, food stamps in America, just welfare generally. It's it sounded all very benevolent when it first came out, but I said right from the beginning. Well, I wasn't alive right at the very beginning of the welfare state here in Britain, but I realised at a very young age that the whole idea is to keep us in control, to make us dependent on the state. That's the whole thing that I don't want to get into a left and right argument here, but something that socialists very much want is for everybody to become dependent on the state. That's the worst possible thing. I want everybody to become dependent on their neighbours, peer to peer, just helping each other. One of my catchphrases is "Let's help each other to thrive." I've actually got a Facebook group in that name. Let's help each other to thrive. And if anybody posts anything on social media, not on Facebook at the moment because I'm on a ban. I should be off by Friday. Another silly 30 days. Just for talking about food supplements, by the way, not for talking about anything controversial. That if somebody puts a post up that helps them to put food on the table or pay their rent, then I will repost it. I will share it. May not mean anything to me personally, but I will share it. Help each other to thrive. Wouldn't it be a wonderful world if we all just did that? Depends who your neighbours are, Jack. Yeah, absolutely. By neighbours, I don't actually mean next door neighbours necessarily, just more generally. Yeah. I mean, it brings me back to talking about foreign aid. And it's all very noble for the government to send our money without asking us to far-flung areas of the world. And if there's a particular short-term crisis going on, I'm not against that. But I'm far more interested in everybody helping the people the nearest to them. Yeah? Just help your neighbour, not make somebody else in the street. If there are old people in the street, then go and check up on them. I don't need checking up on, by the way. I know I'm old. But I mean really old people, even older than me. Or anybody who's disabled, or and if you've any friends of yours who lose their jobs, help them out. And don't be if you're in that position, don't be too proud to accept, because soon it'll be your turn. And what goes around comes around. I'm sure we used to live like that. I mean, we're taught in school, all the BS they teach us in school, that the past was brutish and selfish. I don't believe a word of that. I think we used to help each other an awful lot better, an awful lot more willingly before this money-based, fear-based system was brought in. I can't prove that, of course. Just my gut feeling. Abigail, here in Scotland, there are food banks in schools, and some stay open over the holidays to feed the children. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Food banks are part of the peer-to-peer system. I used to help out at the Oxford Food Bank when I was down in Oxford, and it was very, very rewarding work. And we didn't need to ask the government's permission to do it. We just did it. It's just a great thing. We've been dumbed down with television and fluoride to stop thinking for ourselves, to think that everything's got to be handed to us on a plate. It hasn't. Honestly, it hasn't. We can do it for ourselves and we can do it for each other. The only thing money's good for is keeping score, to see who's winning and who's losing. He's got the biggest car. He must be winning. That bag lady over there, she hasn't got anything. She must be losing. It's all about keeping score. And it serves the purpose of the globalist elite and even lower echelons of that, to have the bag lady there, because it makes them feel important. I'm better than you. What an awful way to live. Now, I don't think we can change it all in one generation. But, I mean, I don't know whether any of you saw my show on Friday with Teresa Fox about home education. One of the great things about home educating kids is that you can bring them up in your value system, not the schools. Teach them what's really important. A friend here in Arizona, USA, works in the cafeteria, and they fed the students through this pandemic. Well, pandemic, yeah. Yeah, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. It's important to feed the kids. It's also important to feed the adults who are looking after the kids. We've all got to look after everybody. I use the analogy of a convoy because some of you know I spent a few years in the military when I was much younger, much more naive. And a convoy travels at the speed of the slowest vehicle, else it wouldn't be a convoy, would it? Well, I always say that a society is only as rich as its poorest citizen, its poorest member. We adopted that attitude. If you want to call yourself a rich society, then you've got to make sure everybody in that society has enough. Imagine, if you will, some future world where people gain status by putting more into society rather than taking more out for themselves. Big house, fast car. Imagine, if you will, some future world where people are generous, where they think, how much can I give? Rather than, how much can I get? Imagine, if you will, some future world where people live by the motto, be excellent to each other. Now, I nicked that from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, as some of you probably guessed, but it's a good motto and it's worth nicking. Be excellent to each other. If we're excellent to each other, not just nice, if we're excellent to each other, to everyone, then it means everything, doesn't it? It includes everything. It includes making sure they've got enough to eat. It makes making sure they've got a roof over their head. making sure that their opinions are listened to, that they have free speech. It's the whole show. It's the whole package. And in my book, I list 9 different ways that we can be excellent to each other. I'm sure there are many, many more than that. And it was just the tip of the iceberg. Such a world would have no need for money or barter. Everyone would make stuff or provide a service to give away freely, never counting the cost. In the knowledge that whatever goods or services they need will be given freely to them by others. Now, I think I mentioned last week, I've mentioned before in a few places, that we're now living between 2 worlds. We're living between this free gift economy that we are trying to create and the old money-based system that was created for us to subdue us. And we still need, well, we still only got small groups. We still need to interact with that bigger society. So it may be necessary in the short term, when you're doing a free service for somebody, to charge for your costs, for your raw materials, because you have to buy those raw materials from the money-based system. And hopefully all that will be over and done with pretty damn soon. Yeah, as I was saying before, if we home educate our kids wherever possible, teach them our values, and then they grow up and teach their kids the same values, the system's screwed. Absolutely screwed. Kindness, when given freely, is priceless. Yes, Heidi, absolutely. Absolutely. People say to me, why do you do so much for so-and-so? No names. Why do you do so much for so-and-so? So-and-so never does bugger all for you. I say, that's not the attitude. That's not the attitude. That's not the way I want to live. That's not love. That's trade. No, that's not the way I want to live. I keep on doing the best I can for all my friends and for people I don't even know. It's just the way I am. I don't expect anything in return. If I get something in return, that's lovely. But I usually say, don't pay me back, pay it forward, go and help somebody else. People will be naturally incentivized to provide goods and services that are in demand because that's how status and respect are earned. Useless vanity projects would earn zero respect or status. There has to be an organic thing, doesn't it? You know, whether your friends down the pub like you or not, it's an organic thing. It's nothing we can or should even try to regulate in any way. All the jobs that are being done now will still need to be done, with the exception of banking, accountancy and finance and insurance, tax collectors. Will have no need for insurance. Oh, I've already said that, yeah. Will have no need for insurance because when unforeseen events occur, everyone will rally around to help. Help will come first from local people, but where a disaster hits a whole region or country, help will come flooding in from the far corners of the earth. Everyone being excellent to everyone else. That's the first and most important principle, most important pillar of utopia. Be excellent to each other. In fact, my book is divided into 10 pillars of utopia. The first one is to be excellent to each other. And the other 9 are just 9 different ways that we can be excellent to each other. It's a good book. Give it a read. You can get it free from my website. You don't have to buy it. I walk my talk. Factory jobs will still exist. Stuff still needs to be manufactured. Some people are happiest when working with their hands. Others prefer office work. There should be no stigma attached to either. There'll be no difference in the status of the different jobs. Why would there be? As I said before, if the janitor doesn't clean the executive toilets, the board of directors can't meet. This is something we can all start now at school, teaching that manual work is just as important as white-collar work. And by homeschooling, you can teach your kids that. Bring them up with that value. Yeah, when you go to a restaurant, make sure that they see you treating the waiter or the waitress with respect as an equal who's just there playing a role in society, a different role than the one you're playing. But never, ever make them think it's an inferior one, because it isn't. Managers will probably be called coordinators. It will be their job to ensure the company is manufacturing the things people actually want and need, and to liaise with suppliers of parts and raw materials. Now, don't forget, I wrote this 4.5 years ago. Things are a little bit more urgent now than I thought they were then, but I'm going to read what I wrote then anyway. The world is not ready for such a system yet. Too many people are too shallow and too greedy for such a system to work. Excuse me. The time will come, but just not yet. First, we have to work at removing the fear from people's lives. And that's what the rest of the book is about. But some people are ready for it now. And I mentioned before about these street bank and Freecycle groups. I think they operate in other countries. I don't think they're just British things. I'm sure there's a local one near you. Heidi, so what is a street bank and Freecycle in America? Let me know. Type free economy into your favorite search engine and see what comes up. Excuse me. These groups now tend to be used to give away things that people have bought and no longer need. The next step could be for people to make or grow stuff specifically to give away on these groups. Perhaps people could get together and run a local free economy, like hippie commune, only with on a larger scale, or maybe start on a smaller scale. I don't know. Anyone here got an island we can use? If you want to explore these ideas further, I highly recommend 2 books by Mark Doyle, The Moneyless Man and The Moneyless Manifesto. I'll put the links below. Just because I want a free world one day, please don't think I'm against wealth. Wealth is fantastic, and I want each and every one of us to have a lot more of it to use for good. Most success coaches will tell you that money is an energy that allows you to be all that you can be. I say that wealth is an energy that allows you, I read that wrong. Hang on. I'm not going to go over it now. Move on. Money is just a token of exchange, a way to quantify wealth, a way of telling who's winning and who is losing in the game of wealth. Someone's sending me voice messages, but I won't play them now because they might be private. And if I play them now, it's going to come up on the screen on the microphone. Abigail has the Moneyless Man book, and it's a good read. Yeah, it's a very good read. People just need to think about this stuff, you know. People just need to think about this stuff. With a few good friends, you can get by without money. Well, I've read enough of that article. Let's see if I can find the next article to read you. Right, I wrote this 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, 5 years ago, whenever it was. So let's just see what I wrote then and how my views on it have changed. And what are your views on this, please? The globalist elite. I talk a lot about the globalist elite and the deep state in my books, but who exactly are they? You probably already know them by another name, the Cabal or the Illuminati. Some say they're just an informal bunch of high-ranking Freemasons. Whatever you call them or think about them, we're talking about people who attend the Bilderberg Group conferences and the Bohemian Grove rituals. And now we're starting to realize that they're all members of the World Economic Forum. And many of our politicians have been on their courses, which is really doing what the charity Common Purpose started to do many years ago, which is to teach all these false inverted values. There have been many different interconnected secret societies throughout recorded history, and even earlier. The term Illuminati really is just a shorthand collective term for all these different groups. It's said that their ultimate goal is world domination by inflicting a totalitarian world government upon us. I believe this is true. Well, I used to believe it's true. Now I know damn well it's true, because Klaus Schwab has told us in his book. It's no longer a conspiracy theory. Governments in Britain, Europe, America, and other places have done too many stupid things to be credible any longer. I wrote that before the last 2 years happened. 2 world wars, not to mention the invasion of Iraq, which directly caused the formation of ISIS, as well as fueling the refugee crisis that is now destabilizing the Western world. And we don't hear very much about ISIS anymore, do we? It was known, I mean, I wrote about this years ago in some of my articles, that the CIA helped to set up ISIS. And more people are saying now that most of the terrorist attacks aren't being done by religious extremists at all. They're being done by the CIA and intelligence agencies in other countries. MI6, Mossad, false flag attacks. I'm not saying they're all false flag attacks, but and I can't prove any of that. I only have a gut feeling. So what do you think? As well as fueling the refugee crisis that is now destabilizing the Western world, this has been a deliberately engineered crisis to further the globalist agenda. We'd have to be completely blind not to see a pattern unfolding, especially so when we consider the mounting evidence that the so-called 9/11 assault on the Twin Towers in New York may well have been a false flag attack. The globalist elite take our freedoms by inflicting fear and then offering fake solutions that rob us of our power. They're behind both sides of every war. And who do you think's funding the Russian Ukrainian war now? It's the same people. It's the same people. They're behind mass immigration and terrorism. And they were behind the Great Depression and all subsequent recessions. David Icke has done a very thorough job tracing their bloodlines all the way back to ancient Babylon and Sumer. If you're interested, I strongly recommend his book, The Truth Shall Make You Free, and others. And there's a lot more up-to-date ones than that now. Yes, Abigail, it's all about money and control. And money is used to control. They want power. What do you do when you can buy and sell the whole world 10 times over? Yeah, you don't want money anymore. You want power. Power to totally control every other human being on the planet. And that's what the Great Reset is all about. That's what the World Economic Forum wants. And all the Illuminati or Cabal, or whatever you want to call them, are members of the World Economic Forum. But something else I've said before, and I'll say again, there are people higher up whose names we will never know. Think about it. If you were running the whole damn show, would you want people to know who you were? Would you want to be a target? No. We'll never know their names. And I am open to the possibility, as David Icke and others have said, that they may not even be humans. They may not be from this planet. And that's certainly what the Gnostics believed, isn't it? They called them, what did the Gnostics call them? Or it'll come to me in a minute. Someone help me out. What did the Gnostics call the Illuminati? That would come to me and I'm not thinking about it. David Icke is a brilliant writer, speaker, and researcher. And sometimes, in my own humble opinion, he goes a bit too far. But he gets some things, and he gets some things wrong sometimes, as we all do. Please don't let this distract you from the core truths unearthed by his excellent research. You don't need to believe everything he says, and I most certainly don't. In order to benefit from his research into the globalist elite families and the control they wield in the world. And I say to people, please don't believe everything I say either. Not without researching it yourself. I'm just one man. and I make mistakes. Heidi, the powers that are funding both sides of every war to control the outcomes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But you know what wars are for? They're to sell weapons. In my first book, Rupert Murdoch's Hitmen, which unearths the dirty goings on not just in the Murdoch media, but in the mainstream media generally. Can't remember his name now, but it's in the book. The same guy was running one of the top weapons manufacturers, BEA. Anyway, BEA is a flight company, isn't it? BE something or other. I've forgotten. It's in the book. I'll have to read it up. And he was also running the BBC. That book was all about how the media conspire with Big Pharma, with the military-industrial complex, with the bankers, with the World Economic Forum, I would say now, but I didn't know about that then, to ensnare us in their web of lies. It's all a show. Abigail, the Bush family were into guns and the CIA. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Right, you might like to check out other writers such as Edwin Black and Jim Marrs. That's Marrs with 2 R's. I particularly recommend Edwin Black's books, especially the Farhud, Farhud, if you are interested in the connections between Arabs and Nazi Germany. I'm not telling you what to believe. I'm not too sure myself. I keep an open mind. I try and keep an open mind on all things. It's not always easy when the evidence is overwhelming, but I try to keep an open mind. I'm just pointing you to 3 rather different viewpoints so you can decide what to believe for yourself. Whatever the details, something very fishy is definitely afoot. And I think since Klaus Schwab wrote that book, we know it's really come out in the open now. We know what's afoot. He's made it absolutely clear. I believe that nearly all presidents and prime ministers have been members of the globalist elite families. Absolutely. I think we know that now, don't we? It's not a theory anymore. We know that now. As have the captains of industry, the bankers, the media barons, and the royal families. They control everything. Ike, Black, and Marrs, and my book, Rupert Murdoch's Hitmen, for full details. Rupert Murdoch's Hitmen is very old-fashioned reading now, and it's not that well written. I admit it. It's my first book, but it's still a very, very interesting read. I think it's still available. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's still available. Abigail, there's a war in one hand, so what the other hand? There's a war in one hand, so what is the other hand up to? Yeah, well, there you go. This is another thing, isn't it? Big stories in the media are always there to distract you from something else, to take your attention away from something else. And by the way, what the media are telling us all about what's going on in Ukraine is mostly bullshit. But I'm not going to get into that today. The more you study and research these things, the more hopeless it seems. The globalist elite control everything. Our banking system, our education system, our industry, our environment, our military, our political system. Everyone is playing their game, singing their tune, and we are all being played and controlled. It'd be so easy to just give up, hope, and surrender to their globalist agenda. But before you decide to throw in the towel, please consider this. I'll tell you what it is in a minute. Abigail, they're spouting utter lies. Media is so bent. Yeah, bloody right, absolutely. They tell us what they want us to believe. It ain't necessarily true. And that's probably going to be the title of my next book. They are few and we are many. If we all stand up, united, shoulder to shoulder, and just refuse to comply, they lose, we win. We just have to say no more. We didn't devise this game, and we're not playing it any longer. We ain't playing Klaus. That's all we've got to do. Heidi, it seems as if most are bought and paid for, that they are in office and they are puppets for those who are trying to control want. Those whose names we know naught of. Yeah, absolutely. Those whose names we know naught of. Absolutely. Ironically, the great Illuminati Grand Master and founder of the Jesuit movement, we all know about the Jesuit movement, Saint Ignatius of Loyola, 1491 to 1556, a long time ago, gave us the key to defeating the globalist elite. His famous prayer begins with the following words: "Teach us, O Lord, to serve you as you deserve, to give and not to count the cost, to toil and not to seek for rest, to labour and not ask for any reward." Clearly, he meant for us to give to the Illuminati, to the church, without any reward. But if we take his words literally, we can beat the globalist elite. Yeah, Abigail's saying start with Black Rock. Well, yeah, Black Rock. Black Rock is has influence over, I won't say own, has influence over nearly all the major corporations in the world, and they're members of the World Economic Forum. Right. He clearly meant for us to give to the Illuminati in its guise as the Christian Church, without any reward. And if we take his words literally, we really can beat the globalist elite. I'm not attacking Christians here, by the way. I have great respect for genuinely religious people of all faiths. I refer only to the self-serving elite who have infiltrated these groups and turned them into authoritarian institutions. The Church of Jesus and James was never authoritarian. It was never top-down, as far as we can work out. Until Paul came along and subverted them to the will of the Roman Empire. That's my theory. Paul Ellis says something similar. And my usual co-host on here, Paul Simon Smith, has interviewed Paul Ellis several times, so you might be interested in looking up some of that material. I personally don't agree with it all, but I think there's a very great deal in it. Heidi, one of my corporate death world companies. Yeah. The Illuminati own all the world's banking systems. It's their main tool of control. They lend us money they don't have and charge us interest on it. What kind of sick mind could devise such a scam as credit? They lend us money that doesn't really exist. A bank can lend 10 times more than they actually have in reserve, and it's legal. So we can buy a house, and we can't make our repayments on time. They steal the house and make us homeless, all with money which never existed in the first place. Nah, it can't be right. Abigail, blessings, Jack. Are you off? Let's hope. I'm running over time anyway, but I'm just going to finish this one article and then I'll end. So thank you ever so much for coming. And anyone who has to go, I respect that, obviously. I'm just going to finish reading this one article and then I'm going to go myself. Love and blessings to everybody. By keeping us in debt and in fear of defaulting on the debt, they turn us into slaves. The globalist elite use debt to keep us in slavery, so let's stop borrowing money. Well, it's a start, isn't it? Stop borrowing money. And if you are going to borrow money, borrow it off each other, not off the banks. And hopefully you won't need to borrow it off each other. The other will give it to you. And you can pay it forward when you can. Then, in a few years' time, let's go the whole hog and stop using money altogether. That'll bugger them. Now, I'm not saying stop using cash. People misunderstand this point. I'm not saying give up cash. As long as we still have money, we must be able to use cash. Heidi, which we should honor what is below our very feet and Mother Earth. Yeah, absolutely. The old religions used to honor Mother Earth. Mother Earth was our goddess. It still is for most of us. For people like me. I'm not saying most people, but still is for people like me. Mother Earth is my goddess, or one of them. And if you worship the earth, you can't harm it, can you? You can't harm her. Pat your mama. You can't hurt your mummy. Heidi's saying good vibes. Yeah, good vibes. It's just say vibes, not bye. Yeah, good vibes. Yeah, absolutely. Then, in a few years' time, I've done that bit. Let's give to each other and not count the cost. Let's toil for each other and not ask for any reward. Pay it forward by helping somebody else. We won't need any reward because everybody else will be giving to us and toiling freely for us. We just need to stop competing among ourselves and start cooperating. Stop fighting each other over who has the best religion or who should be in charge, and start being excellent to each other. Right, that's enough of me for one night. Let Heidi have the last word here. Love and light for us all. Yeah, absolutely, Heidi. Love and light to everybody. Love and blessings and light. Thank you all for coming on tonight. It's much better to have some people to interact with than having to do it all myself. So I really appreciate you. I appreciate every single one of you. And love and blessings. Namaste.